Okay. Oh, that mini-map. That beautiful. Nope, that's... Alright, got no luck on that, so... Topping up Time Friend. Cloaks versus Cloaks. So another mirror factory start. Both players starting with some wind. Which, yeah, 1.7 to 2.5. So actually, in this case, no reason to go solar. But probably still worth doing. Keeping that ratio, 1 metal mine, 2 wind. Play and see. Starts out, so glaives for both players. Yeah, I'd be very surprised to see anything other than glaives. Yeah, maybe a scythe, but okay. So Nir's has got an Lotus queued up, and yeah, Diamond Friend's putting one in as well. So the thing with the Lotuses that these players have put in is it does leave the wind generators a little bit exposed, because if you have a look, the LLTs are very similar heights, and in a lot of cases they'll struggle to shoot past the wind generators. So you could, for example, get a glaive here and kill some of the wind generators before the Lotus can retaliate and attack them. It's still better than not having one, of course. Not sure why got solar here when the minimum wind's going to be 1.7. I guess that might well be because that way the LRT can shoot over them, so it is a little bit safer, but it's expensive for what it is in terms of energy income. There you go. So that's kind of what I'm talking about there. Is in some cases, the LLT will the Lotus, sorry, stop using abbreviations. The Lotus will struggle to actually obtain a vision and a shot. Okay, and it is fairly boxed in. Fred's gone for a much quicker expansion. So glaives have got really high damage. Or if he's going to swing around and try and catch these glaives, that's what. Yeah, so that's something that you could have done, would be to pull these glaives in, kill these two, then you have 4, and then you can run in and kill this. Whereas there, Nir actually came out and on top. Another thing with this map as well, as soon as you find out that the enemy has the same factory as you, in that it's not spiders, it's not jump jets, so they can't go through here, you suddenly get all of these really good choke points, so you know, easy to defend this. Build a single Lotus, and it's going to hurt anything that comes through, unless it's in a large number, which is what's happening here. Not sure if this is a pause that happened, or if it's my... Oh yes, it is. I've somehow found a hotkey for pause, most likely. I would bring the Conjurer round here to stop that happening. Okay, so Nir's got an idle factory and is accessing, so it's not... It's just about caught it in time. Diamond Friend's going free. Stardust very early. I don't think that's worth it, because if you're against an enemy producing many glaives, they're going to run up, see the Stardust and go, okay, we'll go this way. And then they'll go up here. the thing with glaives is you probe for the weak point and then you hit the weak point. You don't run through their strong part. They're cheap. You can run through them, but another thing is you could have done a very minor terraform that would have stopped most of them coming over, or even a wall of solar with a Lotus. But yeah, I think just pop the Conjurer here, a little bit safer. There's a lot of constructors as well for Dynfriend when he's behind in military, so that's another option as well. Is instead of the Stardust, go for Reaver. They cost, I think they cost exactly the same. Yes, they cost exactly the same, but the Reaver can move, and they essentially have the same role, similar range. Just Stardust is static, so it has more hit points. But you could park the Reaver, you know, there, for example. That'll prevent the raids coming in that way. Build up a massive glaives. Glaives for assault, Reavers for defense. When you're confident, you send the Reavers into attack as well. Yeah, both players still sticking to glaives. Okay, so Nir's starting to go for some scythes. Should just augment his raiding. Yeah, I don't. Although, yeah, Anir is behind in economy, but is still ahead militarily, just because he's putting his units. His only defences are Lotus Towers, which are cheap. Dynfriend's got 2 Stardusts, so he spent 400 metal to block off these 2 routes, but this route is still open. So there, as long as Anir scouts and pays attention to the map, these 2 aren't actually defending anything. They're just denying 2 access routes. Yeah, just crank out more glaives. There goes well, so Nir's just way up on the production. He's got less economy, but he's just focusing so much more on putting out units. Looks like he's going, yeah, he knows that Dynfriend's commander's around here and he's just hunting him with scythes. I mean, they won't do very well into the Stardust if that can be finished. So he's gone for a morph as well. So in a panic situation, the usual first response is to hit morph, but yeah, he's just... It's only going to be... Yeah, your commander's only alive as long as Anir is permitting it to live at the moment. Morph. The other thing is, if you've lost an expansion and you're worried that the enemy might still have glaives there, just build a Reaver and send the Reaver in, because if there are any, and you're focusing down here, you might be able to just retake it. But I think the only way that Dynfriend's commander would live there is if he terraformed a small hole for himself and tried to hide. Do you have a storage? No, I don't think so. No, no storage. That's another thing as well, is as soon as you feel like your commander's in a hot spot, build a storage somewhere really quickly. It takes a lot of the edge off of your commander dying. It's still a pretty big hit, especially because it's just been morphed as well, so you put 400 metal into it. Just dump a storage. Run your commander away, dump storage. Another thing as well is Dynfriend's been on the back foot for a long time as well now. So it's... yeah. Anir has actually, you know, built Stardust, but at this point in the game his economy can support that while still crapping out those units. I'm not sure about going Ronin in this case. Just keep with glaives and Reavers. I suppose Ronin you can use, he's probably built those specifically just to kill the Stardust. So that does make a bit more sense. In a heads-up fight that wouldn't help. Another thing I haven't seen many players do is split their units, so if I was near in that situation, I knew a superior force of glaives was running at me, send 3 of them here and try and kill the Conjurer and the other 3 over there. If you're against a player with worse micro than you, then they won't split, they'll just have one blob chasing half of your unit so that half of your units can escape. And Lotus doesn't make cost against glaives, no. But the Lotus is more of a, if you attack here, you will lose some glaives. It depends on how many glaives. Once you get a critical mass, then they'll just run through it without any casualties. The Lotus is more of a deterrent. The Stardust you use to kill a swarm. A Lotus you just use to deter it, and it's also so that if you're fighting with the same number of units, if you have a Lotus, you win. Yeah. Rather than... Because in this case, if you keep a threatening ball of glaives, for example, and you only have, say, 1 or 2 Lotus on every, couple of metal or so, then the enemy can't use their massive glaives to overrun your Lotuses, because if they do that, you'll do the same to, say, their core base, because yours are kept next to your production. And if they start moving their ball, you can either try and follow it, or you can just run in and trade the base and run yours back quicker. Whereas you haven't had that big threat at any major combat. You've essentially lost every battle if you play in blue. That's one thing I don't like about it. It's zoomed out so much. You should get every sound equally as loud. I like them equally as loud, but a bit quieter. Yeah. I'm surprised the Nier didn't go into air or gunships, for example, just as a way of ending the game a bit quicker. Yeah, as well with this switch, by the time you've gone for the Ogre, the enemy has Ronin to the point where they're almost the equivalent players. Yeah, it's got to be the Death Push.